Good morning. It's April 6th, 2021. I'm Kimberly Jolly from Fat Quarter Shop FlossTube, and today we're going to stitch on Serendipity. It is called Stitchy Talk today, where I just stitch and talk with you and answer any kind of stitching questions that you might have. This piece right here is our Serendipity, and this is release 2. It's a completely free pattern, so this was release 1, and it's a completely free pattern. And we're asking for donations to Make-A-Wish, and the link below in the charity is Make-A-Wish. We've raised $64,404,000.
Woohoo!
So that's so exciting. Thank you to everyone who has donated. Kevin and I will donate $20,000. Mark Dunn from Moda Fabrics will donate $10,000. So we're almost to $100,000. So that's so amazing, and we just started. So today what I wanted to focus on is just some different tips and how I stitch. So what I did to get ready for this morning is I am using Weeks Dye Works, and I went ahead and pulled every color that I'm going to be using today. We're basically stitching what in quilting we would term a flying geese. And each of my flying geese uses 5 colors. So I'm only using these 5 colors today. So it's like these 5, it just repeats, if that makes sense. So each color is used once in each row. So I just took the 5 colors, pulled them out, put them on my bitty board so that I can easily get to them. When I'm completely done with the row, I will put them back on here. But for today, this should be enough to get us through. I've got my scissors. I have the brand new thread conditioner by Lori Holt, and we're going to use that today. It comes in this cute little tin, and it's a beeswax. So she had that custom, we had that custom made for Lori, and it's even got little scallops on the edge.
That's so cute.
It is so, I'm trying to get the scallops to show.
Yeah.
There's little scallops. So I'm going to use that today. And one thing that I did to save time is I went ahead and took all of my needles and pre-threaded them. I'm using size 26 Pat Carson, and I kind of put them in the order that I have the thread. And this pattern's pretty easy because there's 1 cream, 1 yellow, 1 white, 1 light blue, 1 dark. So there's not a ton of colors, so it's easy for me to tell what I've got out. So I've got them pre-threaded just to save time, and you can just put this on your chair or wherever. I am going to be using my readers. These are magnified at 3.0. So I'll put my readers on so I can see better. And what I'll do is I'm going to just start right here with the cream. And so I've got this pre-threaded, and I can show you how to thread a needle in a little bit. I am doing the loop method. So with the loop method, I have a loop at the end. And with Weeks Dye Works or hand-dyed floss, you're not supposed to do the loop method, but I do anyway. So I'm going to get a wonder clip, and I'm going to clip this up on the end. I think I have one over here. I'm going to get a wonder clip from my bag. I think they're called wonder clips.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just clip this. This gets it kind of out of my way. And I'm going to start here with my cream. So I'll kind of put this out of the way. And I'm going to stitch from top to bottom. That's how I prefer to stitch. So this one's pretty easy. All of the flying geese are the same. So to start, I just go to the back, pull it through the loop, and then when I go down, I don't like to leave it there because sometimes you can see it through to the front, so I put it kind of in the middle. And then I'm just going to stitch from top to bottom, and they're all the same, so this becomes really nice if you're trying to do something without having to think too much. And when I am stitching at home, I do use the Halo Go magnifier. And I'm hoping that with one thread I can actually get 3 flying geese. So I'm calling these little triangles on their side of flying geese because that's what they're called in quilting. And we designed the cross stitch to go with the quilt. So this is super easy. You just go top to bottom. And if you want more of a variegated look, you would keep your strands together and not do the loop method. But that doesn't matter to me. The variegation doesn't. So I would love for you guys to tell me what you did for Easter or anything that's going on, any quilting or cross stitch questions you have. I do want to show you with this lighter thread, I am going to railroad some of my stitches. So when I railroad, I put my needle through just any of the two, just somewhere between the thread, doesn't matter where, if my thread gets kind of tangly. And you'll notice I sometimes do it, I sometimes don't. And with working with this darker fabric, it is really good to have a light. A light really helps. And so I've got the Stella light next to me. So you could use that. You could use the Halo Go, just as long as you have a light where you can see. Okay, so on that stitch right there, it's puffy. It's not even. It's fat. This little thing is sticking up right here. It's hard to see. I can't stand it. So I'm going to pull it, and it didn't come out, so I'm going to pull the whole stitch out. So sometimes people ask how my stitches lay flat. I'm going to put the needle between my thread and just pull and just kind of start over. So I unpick a lot of stitches if I don't feel like they are nice and flat. And since I'm on camera, I can't go as fast because the piece is further away from my body. So it's harder for me to see. But this is how I stitch, just the finger on the back. I want to show you that. I keep my finger on the back right where my stitches are. And that helps me. Now, if you use Pat Carson needles, that's okay. But if you start using Bowen needles, they're sharper and you will get a callus on your finger. So I would just say if you're going to, because it did touch, this touches my finger right there. It touches my finger, which stops the stitch and goes down. Like that. And the reason I do that is it just makes it go faster for me. Just be careful that you're using a tapestry needle and that it's not too sharp. And I am going to show you how to use the thread conditioner on the next one because I already have these pre-threaded, but on the next one that I do, I can take it off the needle and show you how to do it.
Let's see. Crystal Rose asking, does Kimberly get hand or wrist pain from stitching? And if so, what does she do to help?
Sometimes my arm hurts, but I don't really do anything to help it. I don't get carpal tunnel or anything like that. I do sometimes, if my fingers get tired, I kind of do this exercise where you do a ball really tight, like real tight, and then open. Sometimes I do that, but I don't take medicine or anything like that. But yeah, I sometimes think though that my arm pain is more from my Yeti, to be honest, because my Yeti is so heavy and I use it all day. So I don't think stitching, I don't think any of that's from stitching. So on the back, I need somewhere to pull my thread through. So if you go up, that's kind of weird because you don't really have anywhere to catch it. So I'm going to kind of go diagonally and try to catch it on at least 4 rings, meaning stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I do try to clip it right at the edge. So that's my first flying geese. I'm going to continue with this color. So this is our arrowhead. So I'm going to go ahead and go down and do this one since I've already got my thread out. So what I will do is take it off my needle. I'm going to try to use the leftover and see if this is enough. It might be, it might not be, but that'll tell me for the rest of them if it's enough. It's probably not going to be, but I'm going to try it anyway. So with this, I'm going to use the back because I want to keep the front pretty. And I'm just going to glide my thread along the edge and keep my finger on it. And you can see my thread is going through the actual beeswax on the edge. You can actually see it going through. And I'm going to use that, and beeswax will help keep your thread a lot straighter. See how straight it is? Okay, look at this one. The difference. The beeswax straightens your thread. And that was the other one that was on. Now we're going to see if this is enough to get a whole stitch in. If not, we'll see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so when I'm working with a dark fabric, watch what I do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh.
So I kind of pull the needle through and count, and then I'll recount when to make sure I'm in the right spot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm just going to do the same thing going down.
Could you scooch your stitching a little bit to the left, please? Thank you. That's perfect. Okay, from Judy Wagner Thompson, why are you splitting the thread on the return stitch?
It's called railroading, and it keeps your stitches on the top flatter and just nice and straight. It's an extra step. Some people do and some people don't. And I only do it with lighter threads. Darker threads, the look of it doesn't really get distorted. Okay, right there I can tell. Right here I didn't go all the way down into the hole. I missed a step. I went too far up. And the only reason I can tell is I can just tell, but if I had my magnifier on, I would not have probably done that, but it's too hard to use the magnifier on camera.
From Penny Olson, what does the thread conditioner do?
It straightens your thread. And so you'll see how straight it is. I'm not seeing that kink. If you go back and rewind the video, the previous one had a lot more kinks.
Or as Erica Gregarious put it, it's like starching for cross stitch.
It is. It just makes it less, honestly, it's the kink in the thread. That's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah, it tangles less?
Yes.
Okay.
And winds, like the curvature of it.
From Justine Woodward, how does Kimberly keep organized and on track with quilting and cross-stitch projects? Does she quilt during the day and cross-stitch at night, like Lori?
I do everything by the week, and I just figure out what I need to get done, and I just do whatever I feel like at the time. Now, I take off Thursdays. So this Thursday, I have a bunch of quilting to do. Cross-stitch, I do either at work or at my kids' activities, but I plan by the week, and I give myself weekly goals, and I do whatever I have to do to get those weekly goals done. So some weeks I quilt more, some weeks I cross-stitch more, but I would say it's half and half because I give myself goals. And I have a planner, and on my planner I put everything that needs to be done by the day it needs to be done, and I check off as I finish. So I basically don't have any days off ever, because I'm always, if I'm not at work, I'm with my kids, and if I'm not with my kids, then I'm sewing or doing something crafty. But I pretty much only do stuff for work. I don't have any extra time to do anything just for fun, like for quilting or cross stitch. So I try to, anything that I want to get done, I try to put it in the business somehow so that it makes me have time to do it.
Okay, and from Corey Tibbs, will the thread conditioner discolor the light colored flosses?
No. So I've got that one done, and so that's going to give me the full use of that whole strand. The whole strand will give me 3 flying geese. So I do the same thing. It's harder to do this on camera because the thread is so farther, it's so much farther away from. So then I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do the same thing with the thread conditioner. I'll just go in that same hole. So yeah, you can see it right there, how it's in the, because if you put it in all the way, you're getting it coated all the way through. It might make your thread a tiny bit darker. I mean, it might, I don't know. But see how straight it is now? And before it was...
Does it feel different?
It does feel different. It has a thickness to it now. So it has kind of a... It just feels more stiff. So it does feel a little bit different. And thread conditioner is something I use sometimes. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. So I don't, you know, if you're stitching fine and you don't have any issues with tangling or anything, you don't need it. So here again, to start, I'm going to put my needle in the hole, see? And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, there. It's harder to see on this dark fabric. See how straight that is, though? Yeah, it is like starch for 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm just making sure I'm in the right spot before I keep going.
Okay.
And the great thing about this is all of the flying geese are exactly the same. So I don't have to keep looking at my pattern.
Let's see, Tanya Spielman said, what's everyone working on? I'm working on Strawberry Licious by Cross Country Stitching Magazine.
Yeah, what's everybody working on? What did y'all do for Easter?
All right, Val Earl said, we did our first pool swimming for the season with our daughter and son-in-law. We tried to do it on Easter, also still hide eggs for them to hunt, LOL. That was great.
That's funny. I made my kids do an Easter egg hunt and they were like so unimpressed.
Oh. Christy P said, we did an egg hunt for my 2.5-year-old grandson outside. The eggs were filled with fruit, blueberries, strawberries, grapes, and blackberries, and he was thrilled. He prefers fruit over chocolate. Oh.
Oh, that's awesome. There was a study that came out today that said it ranked the top 10 foods that are comfort foods, and then tacos was number 1. Yes. And then on what food that you like the most when you're in a good mood, and what food you like the best when you're in a bad mood, and it's chocolate, and I guessed it. I was like, oh yeah, for sure, chocolate.
It's like Harry Potter. It makes the Dementors go away.
I have no idea what she's talking about. I don't know anything about Harry Potter.
The Dementors are these beings that when they're near you, you feel sad or depressed, and chocolate helps fight that feeling. Like when you face a Dementor afterwards, you should have some chocolate. Sorry. Pokey Little Pineapple says, I actually attended a wonderful indoor church service, did an Easter egg scavenger hunt with grandson, barbecued ribs, and stitched.
Awesome.
That's awesome, yeah. And then Natalia Knetsky says, I don't celebrate Easter, I celebrate Passover. I have noticed that you guys are carrying more Jewish celebration fabrics and patterns. Thank you for that.
Yes, we got a request for that. So we went through Hoffman Distributors, which is where we order most of our patterns. And we picked as many as we could that, we liked the design. So, or, we carry their stuff. Carry that the designer's other patterns. Okay, so right there I went too far down. So I unpicked my stitches.
Life as a Mom said, we did an indoor Easter egg hunt with our 12 kids. It was a party with just us. You put a laughing, crying face.
That's funny.
12 kids. Oh my goodness.
One of my kids wanted to do the Easter egg hunt inside, and I told him no. And he said he wasn't going to participate, but then he did. I was like, well, if you don't participate, that's fine. Because I'm not going to change it just for... I don't know why he wanted to have it indoors. It wasn't wet. I think he was just trying to be a party pooper.
Oh. And Kathy Longo says, we had a wonderful Easter with egg hunt, piñata, and topped off with the silly string fight with the grandkids. It was so much fun. That sounds like a lot of fun. Oh my gosh.
It does sound like... I saw bags of confetti at H-E-B, and I was like, oh yeah, no, that is not going home with us.
I haven't hit a piñata in too long. Yes, too long. Still have a piñata from my 8th birthday. He looks like Charlie the Unicorn, so we kept him.
So I've got 2 more to do, 2 more flying geese to do in this color. So I'm going to just pull this color off. To pull the thread out, I just pick one of the threads and just pull. And then now that I'm going to be done with this color, I'm going to go ahead and put it back on my card, my Weeks Dye Works card. And what I do is I'm just going to put it next to the other one. And when I come back, I can just use this one because I already started using it. So this time, since I've only got 2 left, I'm going to actually take my thread, cut it in half so I have 2 pieces instead of 3. Oh. Since, I've only got 2 left, why waste it? And then I'll be done with that color. So I'm going to do the same thing with my Beeswax by Lori. And you can see that is the one I did beeswax on, and this is the one I didn't. So you can see right there the straightness that the beeswax provides. And then I just put the one that I'm not working on, the leftover right here, so I can find it. So I do use these bitty boards all the time. And these are my pre-threaded needles. And I'm going to do the next 2 of this color. And once I get this color going, it's going to make the next part easier. But I do prefer, if I'm doing something that's like a little small area, I do try to do the color all at one time. Not always, but I like to do the same color just to get it going. Now this one's going to be harder to do. 5, 6, 7, 8. Because it's a weird spot and it's further away. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I'll do my first stitch and then I'm going to check my work to make sure I'm in the right spot. There are times where I'll just do one of these stitches in the totally wrong spot. I just pull it out. So now that I've got this kind of going, you can see. I'm going to grab another Wonder Clip. And take this side and roll it so that there's less in my hand. And when I clip it, I try to either clip it at the top or the bottom, not where I'm stitching, so that my stitching doesn't get hung on the Wonder Clip and I don't clip on top of my stitches. Now I'm going to make sure I'm in the right spot before I keep going. So I'm going to count again. 1, 2. I'm in the wrong spot. I can already tell. No, I'm in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I'm in the wrong spot. Yeah, I'm in the wrong spot. Okay, so I'm going to undo that. So when I thread my needles, I pinch my thread in between my thumb and my first finger. Pull that through. Okay, let me try this again. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was really good, wasn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Watching your needle go underneath the fabric reminds me of like a shark coming in the water, and you kind of see it like.
Did you ever watch Jaws?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my brother was so scared of Jaws when we were little.
Yeah, it's like a thing you have to watch when you go to film school.
Why?
It's yeah, we don't watch it when you go to the beach, because it was Spielberg's like first blockbuster movie. It redefined like it made blockbusters a thing, like summer releases a thing. It just changed the film industry so much, and it's a really good film.
Yeah, I don't know. I never watched it. I mean, I must have watched it when I was a kid, but
Yeah. And just the fact that like the shark actually looked really bad on camera. So like the score is what makes you actually scared, like the music.
Yeah, so we used to go to the movies all the time when I was little, when I was really young. But so the funniest story ever is my brother's 6 years older than me, so I used to always embarrass him because I was always like, much younger. Well, they took me to see some movie with Robert Redford called Annie something.
Oh, uh-huh.
I don't know what it was. Annie's, I don't know. Somebody will know. And the guy was spitting in the movie. I guess Robert Redford was spitting in the movie, so I had Red Hot, so I spit them all over the theater. But my parents didn't know because I guess, on the other side of my brother. Anyway, I got in a lot of trouble. But I don't remember it. I just remember my brother talks about it, and I'm like, I did what? So I think my parents probably were so mad at me. But I was like 5.
Aww.
But yeah, I can just imagine myself spitting. I don't know what I was doing, but that's about my interest in movies. I was probably bored with a movie and just started spitting.
Like, let's make this more interesting.
I looked it up one time, whatever the movie is, and I think I was like 4.5 when it came out. Because I looked it up, because I was like, why would I have done that?
Why did I do that? That's fine.
But yeah, it's some Annie something.
Let's look it up.
And I don't know, I remember one time I went and saw Star Wars with my neighbor, and I was like, whatever. I couldn't get into it. I was just like, whatever. And I didn't have a very good attention span for stuff like that, to sit still. I don't sit still very much. So you can see I'm going faster as I kind of get the rhythm for it. I'm just hoping I'm in the right spot all the way through. But if I'm not, I'll just unpick it.
Yeah.
And it does feel good once I get done with one color, because then, I started with 5, now I've got 4. It just kind of, you can see your progress on your bitty board. Okay, somebody's got to tell me the name of that movie.
I'm trying to figure it out. Let's see. No one said it yet, I think.
It's Annie something. I don't know.
Anne-Marie Makowski said, Annie, get your gun?
I have no
Maybe.
idea.
I'm looking at Robert Redford's IMDb.
It could be, maybe not Robert Redford. You know me. I don't know.
Okay.
This is one thing about me. A famous actor could be right in front of me. I'd have no idea. I did. I would have no idea. I mean, yeah, I don't watch movies, so I don't know. A lot of people talk, like, you know, that's one thing that I don't ever get references to because I don't watch movies. So if people start talking about actors or actresses or people getting married or getting divorced, I have no idea who they're talking about.
Someone said Annie Hall?
Mm-mm. It was a Western movie. Annie Oakley or something like that.
Annie Oakley!
I don't know.
That's what it seems like. Let's see. Yeah,
It was in 1979.
Oh, well, Annie Oakley was an actual person.
Yeah, no, she was like a...
Well, it was a movie from 1935.
No, I'm not that old.
I mean, you know, back then theaters would still replay movies because home movies weren't a thing yet, so they would replay a lot of older stuff. There'd be re-releases.
No, I know it was like
of the time.
Yeah, because it was like Robert Redford or John Wayne or somebody like that.
Okay.
Not John Wayne.
We will figure it out. Okay, let's see. Laura Marshall shared with us that for Easter she planted some of her early spring garden crops. She loves gardening.
That's awesome.
That's wonderful.
Do not garden. Okay, I can tell right there. Now, if I had my Halo Go light, I would be able to see, but I can tell, and I just put my needle back in there. I'm off a little tad, but I can just see it with my eye. But normally, I wouldn't have to pull the stitch out because I wouldn't have made that error, but I have really bad eyesight, so even with these 3.0 magnifiers, it's just not the same. And when I stitch, I do put my stitching closer to my face. Usually my light is right here, and my stitching's right here, so it's really a lot closer.
Michelle Moore suggested the Electric Horseman.
I know Annie was in the name.
Yeah, that one has Robert Redford and...
I don't know. I could text my brother and ask him. He would know because he was so embarrassed. Well, my mom used to work nights. She worked for the government and she worked nights. So my dad, that's what he would do, is he would take us to the movies because I think he didn't know what to do with us. And like back then, there was no cable or anything like that, so.
A few people had said the Horse Whisperer.
I don't know. I'll have to text my brother and then I can tell y'all tomorrow in tomorrow's live stream.
Okay, let's do that. I'm surprised that none of us are guessing it today.
Well, it's a different genre than you. You were born after I got out of high school.
Yeah, but I watch a lot of like old movies.
It was just a movie. I just know it had Annie in the name and the person was spitting. And that's what I didn't know. I was just doing what they did in the movies, but I was on the other side of my brother. I don't think my mom was there. I think my dad, but I'm pretty sure I got in trouble because my parents were pretty strict.
Six-pack Annie?
I don't know. I'll text my brother and ask him. So as I'm stitching, you can kind of see I keep this hand pretty steady and it's on the table. Now when I'm stitching at home, I don't have it on the table. I have it up, but I do try to keep this hand steady and I do keep my fingers just like this on the back. And that's the only way I'm able to stitch in hand, I guess is how you call it. I can go faster though if I'm stitching like at my desk or like right now I'm at a desk. I can go a little bit faster than if I'm sitting in a chair. Okay, right there. See that?
Oh no.
So that's the kind of stuff that that I will pull one thread down here, pull one thread, it didn't pull the other thread.
Oh.
And it fixed. But I can tell that it's still a little bit funky, so I'm gonna undo the whole thing. Oh, I see, there's a little knot.
Oh.
See that little knot?
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna try to figure that out. Sometimes if you put your needle right in the middle of the knot, it'll come out. Oops, I just dropped my needle. Hold on, don't show this. I have
Okay.
to get my needle. Okay, I dropped it in my lap. Okay, it just came out. I just did that and it just came out.
You had to drop your needle first, I guess.
Yeah, I had to drop my needle first. But I knew there was something off. But I guess people ask how my stitching is so neat, and I guess because I am willing to unstitch quite a lot. But this row should be much easier than last week's because it's a thinner line and you just use 5 colors instead of like every color. So what I do like about when I cross stitch, and I try to give myself goals that are actually achievable, and I divide my projects up because then I can go from project to project and I am less likely to be bored because I can just, finish that goal, move on, that kind of thing. So I'm going to go back through, try to catch 4, tug a little bit, cut. Now I'm going to move to a different color, but I've got this needle left over and I'm not going to leave that out. So I'm going to put it back in my little container. I labeled my 3 containers with 24, 28. Oh, it's right here in front of me. 26, and I have these glasses on. Oh, it's 26 that I'm putting it back in. Sorry, sometimes I get confused. And I just put it right back in. Because if I leave it on here, I'm gonna lose it. So now I'm gonna just go to my pattern, and since the light blue is next, I'm just gonna go with that one. So that is my light blue. So I've got my thread, but I've already got it threaded right here. Okay, now this one has not used thread conditioner, so that I can show you the difference so that you can tell what the thread conditioner, or it's not thread conditioner, it's beeswax. So I will roll this back up. So I'm constantly rolling, unrolling, and I pretty much have to have these. If I don't have these attached, it really kind of throws me off. So I'm going to stitch this one. It does not have beeswax on it, and you'll see the difference. And it's also easier to start once you have one color going, because you're just moving to your next color and you don't have to count as much. So let's see how much we've raised for Make-A-Wish to see if we've had any donations since we started.
Page real quick. We are at $64,579 raised for Serendipity.
Yeah, we've raised $175.
And Natalia Konetsky is asking, who designed Serendipity? The colors are spot on with the name.
Jocelyn designed it, and we based our thread colors off of the quilt. The quilt fabric was designed by Corey Yoder, so we just matched our threads to her fabric, but Jocelyn designed both. And Jocelyn designs anything that we do that's very big and intricate, and the background on our quilt is navy, so that's why we have navy cross-stitch fabric. And yesterday on our quilting channel, I demoed how to make flying geese, a quick way and an accurate way. So if you want to see that, I did that video yesterday.
Lori Holt said she's working on Prim Stitch series number 10.
Yay!
Let's see, Garden Stitcher said working on Blackbird Singing by Tiny Modernist tonight, starting Home Sweet Home Sew Along.
Yay! I'm going to get to show Home Sweet Home tomorrow. It actually was way quicker than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to take me like 10 hours to do the house. I don't know why I thought it was going to take so long, and it really didn't. I don't remember exactly what it took off the top of my head, but it was much quicker stitch than I thought it was going to be.
Question from Judy Brown. Is it necessary to keep the beeswax in the tin when not using it?
I don't think so. I'll probably keep it in there so that dust doesn't get all over it.
Yeah, I think the tin is nice, but...
Yeah, it's just an accessory, but yeah. I will probably keep mine in there because I don't want it to get, you know, dust, and it'll be easier for me to find in my bag, but yeah, I don't think you have to keep it. And it's something that you could just keep it sitting on your bitty board. Now with me, I put these bitty boards in and out of my bag all the time. I have one that's pink, and that's the one, I just keep moving it from project to project instead of getting a new one. Okay, so this is left over. I've got 2 strands left over from what I just did. So I'm going to move to the next one, which I'm going to have to count a little bit. But I am going to use the beeswax. And this was made in America. It's 100% beeswax. It was made by a bee farmer.
Oh.
Yeah, so, and this, we made the mold special for Lori. So this is a American product. It took I will say it took a long time to get it made, but, because you got to have a lot of bees to make all this wax.
Save the bees.
And when you're doing this, you could do, 5, 5, 5. You don't have to go from color to color. I'm just showing you something different today. This is kind of what I would do, because then it makes me, then I know exactly how much I'm done. Because then when I'm done with the second color, I know I'm 40% done. When I'm done with the third color, I'm 60% done, because that's how my mind works. Because I'm all about getting to the goal, the end of the rainbow goal. All about that. So now, if I did 5 at a time, I would be like, okay, I'm 20%, 30%, no, 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, 10%. Because I do that in my head because I'm a little OCD. I'm always tracking where I'm at. It keeps my mind distracted. Now, I counted over from here 3 stitches. But I'm going to count up to make sure I'm going to count up just to make sure I'm in the right spot. 6 down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. So let me know if there's any stitchy questions. I'll probably stitch until I get to the end of the blue. So if you've got any questions, let me know.
From Nell Thames. I haven't seen anyone split their thread on the second. Does that help your stitches lay flatter? I'll be working on Serendipity again tonight after work.
Yes, so that's called railroading, and I just do it as a habit to keep my stitches nice and flat. Now, if I'm in a rush, I don't do it. But I'm not in a rush today. We're just chatting. I've got plenty of time on my hands. I got all day to do this. And this will probably take me... The whole row will probably take me like 3 hours, because once I get off camera, I can go through this quick. I can probably go twice as fast when I'm not on camera, because I have my Halo Go, and I can just go faster.
Question from Natalia Kanzianski. How do you guys select the patterns to start a yearly club?
we pick what we like. So if I want to stitch something, if Denise wants to stitch something, if Cheryl wants to stitch something, that's what we do. And, you know, we work with the designers that are, that we like their style, and we do try to vary it up so that, you know, we work with all different designers. So yeah, we just pick what we like, pretty much. And what will fit in our homes. Because I'm not going to stitch this huge sampler on 40 count because it doesn't interest me. It's not interesting to me. It doesn't fit my house. So that's kind of what we go by. What we think is in style. What we like. Because I don't want to stitch anything that I'm not going to actually put in my house.
Mm-hmm. And then we did have a couple super chats. The first one was from Catherine Winters for $4.99. Thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you.
I think she has a buffalo as her profile picture on YouTube, and it's wonderful.
Oh my gosh, Kevin loves buffalo. I'm not kidding. When we went to that ranch, he was like, "Where are the buffalo?" And on the last day, we finally saw buffalo. I was like, "Thank God we got to see buffalo," so he could shut up about the buffalo.
Yes, I love buffalo too.
I was just like, that buffalo is going to come over here to my car. And it was when we were leaving, I'm like, you need to go. I don't want to get hit by the buffalo.
Okay, and then we had a super chat from Valeria Bauer for $9.99, and she put a pair that's going #1 fan. And she also said, "I know today is cross stitching, but I would like the name of your sewing machine, Kimberly."
Thank you. Okay, I never named it.
I think she means what kind of sewing machine do you have, because she wants to get one.
Oh, sorry.
It's
okay. I was like, my name. I'm not Lily. I don't name stuff. Okay, so I use the Juki 2010Q. But recently, because I was frivolous, I bought the 2010Q PE, which is the Platinum Edition. And I waited to see how long it would take my kids to realize that I had a different colored sewing machine, and none of them noticed.
Oh, like, yep.
Because they're just, you know, they didn't notice. But yeah, I exclusively use the Juki. Now I do own a baby lock. I think it's like a Serendipity or something like that, or something with an S. I only use it to not serge, but to do this with my fabric. What do you call that? Zigzag stitch. And you can tell how wonderful that looks. It just looks like a big old mess, because that's what I do. I just run it through fast. Like it doesn't, and that's the only reason I even have it out or use it, which is ridiculous. But yes, I love the Juki because it goes fast, and it's like a workhorse, I guess is the way I would describe it.
And a sweet comment from Kathy Achenbach. "I've learned a lot from you today. Now I will know how to set up when I stitch next."
Oh, thank you. And you don't have to feel like you have to stitch just like me. This is just what I do. I'm just showing what I do. And the reason we came up with this is we get a lot of the same questions over and over. And we want to have a video that we can refer people to that maybe weren't watching that day, but have the question, you know, a month later or 2 months later, Lily can say, "Oh, we did that on this video," because she knows I won't remember.
And from Christy P, "Can you clarify which size needle you prefer for 14 count, 16 count, and 18 count Aida cloth? I like the big eye on the Pat Carson needles, not sure what size to order."
On 14 count, I use a size 26 needle Pat Carson. On 16 count, I either use the Pat Carson size 26, or if my fabric is pretty tight, I will use a 28 Bowen. On 18 count, I use the 28 Bowen. And the reason why is the 28 Pat Carson is pretty sharp. So when I do this thing, where I pull the needle through, my fingers right here, it's too sharp and it just pokes. And for some reason the Bowen is more blunt on the end and it doesn't bother me.
Amy Barlow says, Kimberly, I am trying to find the cabinet at Hobby Lobby you store your floss in.
I went to Hobby Lobby for the first time in like 9 months on Saturday. And I didn't see it there, but when Denise and I bought it, it was in the front of the store when you walk in on the front, all the way around the store, they have furniture around the edge. You have to kind of look for it. It was there. But they still have it online. We can link to it. But yes, and we saw an employee at Hobby Lobby. And he said, so Kevin was behind me. And I heard someone say, gosh, I got to take a picture of this. And I thought, what does Kevin need to take a picture of? It was one of our employees.
Oh.
And I was like, hey. It was funny. I think he was saying, I got to take a picture of the fact that Kevin was in a Hobby Lobby with me.
That's funny. When you said employee, I thought you meant a Hobby Lobby employee. And I'm like, why are they taking pictures of you?
Oh, no. It was one of our employees. It was funny.
That is funny.
And we said, well, what are you doing here? And he said, because it's a male employee. And he said, I'm with my wife. I'm trying to get out of here.
That's funny.
But I told Kevin it's not as fun to go to Hobby Lobby with him because I can't buy as much. Because he says, what are you going to do with that? Where is it going to go? And I tell him it's going to go wherever I want it to go. Shut up. But because we do play around, I do tell him to shut up. But we're kidding. Like, I don't tell him in a mean tone.
Yeah.
I'm just like, hush. But he did. Oh my gosh, I couldn't get him out of the fabric section. I'm like, I'm ready to go. And he's like, I'm looking over here to see whose fabric they sell. He was all looking at the bolts and the price, and I was just like, come on, we didn't come to Hobby Lobby to look at fabric.
Yeah.
So I've got 2 more that I'm going to do on camera. They're the light blue, so I'm going to take the light blue, pull 1 thread off, divide it into 2 for this, because that's how I save my thread. I try to plan it so I don't have a bunch left over. Thread doesn't cost that much though. It's just a OCD thing. I do it more for. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this back on the card.
And how long do you cut your thread?
Okay, so this is weeks. So I had to cut it. I just divide it into 5 because it comes with 5 meters. So I divide it into sections of 5 when I start. Now, Classic Colorworks comes pre-cut. And DMC, when I divide it into 8 sections. So I try to get about a yard, 36 inches. That's what I do. So I've already put the beeswax through, so I'm going to cut this into 2 pieces. And then do our last 2. And then the last 3 colors that I have, they're already pre-threaded for the first one. And that way I'll be able to finish today. And then as I finish my pre-threaded needles, I will put them back in my needle case. And we have had some questions come in that are great questions that say, how can you tell once you've used a needle what needle it is? Mm-hmm. And I don't have an answer for that. I just say you have to compare it to the previous needles that you have to see which one matches, because there's no marking on the needle. Now, since I've gotten over here, I don't really need this clipped because my hand is right here and nothing's really getting in the way. But if you want to clip, you can. But okay, let's see where we're at. Okay, good. This one is the same. So 1, 2, 3. And honestly, if you don't put these in the exact same spot, nobody's going to know. I try to keep it in the same spot though. I try to follow the pattern as much as I can. Because when I get to the next row, I'm not going to remember what I did on the second row. Now, if I do make a change, I will put it in this journal. Because I do so many projects, and this is how I stay organized. Because every project that I have started, now some of this is y'all are not supposed to see because it's for my Mania and Americana April that I'm going to do with the lady who started that. But if there's not a number here, that means I'm still working on it. So all of the ones here I haven't started, and I put notes, so I'll find one with notes. So like I put my notes in a little notes section. Because I'm working on so many projects, if I don't keep notes or records, I will be lost. And I mean, I'm doing it for a business. I mean, I'm doing it for work. So I have to stay organized. I cannot get off track. I can get behind every now and then, but that's how I stay organized. And I have the same thing for quilts. And I make a lot more changes in my quilting. So it's always good to have that because I can remember, oh, I need to buy this SKU. I put the SKU numbers down.
From the 614 Stitcher, when you change color of floss or fabric, do you start with colors you like? I am trying more color changing and don't want clashing of color or fabric and or floss.
Yeah, so if I need to change colors, I just pick maybe one color that I like the best. So start with the color you like and then go from there. And you could go to, if you're trying to do that in person, you can take a bitty board or design board to Hobby Lobby or Joann's, and it has white. So then when you put the floss, you're not putting your floss on a different color that's going to distort it. So that's what Denise and I do when we're picking floss, is we always have a design board down so that we see that whiteness on the bag. And we just pick a color you like the best and then go from there. And keep that one color throughout, and then like say you could start with the navy here. Like this dark blue, not navy, you could start with the dark blue and then go from there if you really like the dark blue, and then make sure the light blue matches, and then you can move to these two colors, this color, this color. But just start with what you like. Start with a place, I guess have a place to start, which means start with something you like. And just don't be afraid, like if you start stitching it and you don't like it, you can always take the stitches out, start over.
From Sander Kramer, can you explain sizing and stitch count? Like Lori Holt's frame piece turns out bigger than the ones Kimberly does. I have poor sight like Kimberly and I want the larger size, but what cloth?
So you just start with the cloth that you like. So 14 count is very easy, so I would start with that. And to figure out the size, you just take your stitch count, which is always listed on your pattern. So right there it says stitch count 100 by 116. So I'm stitching on 14 count. So 100 divided by 14 is 7.25. 116 divided by 14 is 8.25. And that tells me my finished size. If you were going to do, say, 25 count, that's the equivalent of 12 and a half. So you would do 100 divided by 12 and a half to get this number, and 116 by 12 and a half to get that number. And you just do the math on a calculator. And, you know, it's very standard for cross stitch patterns to have the stitch count, and that's why.
Lori Holt says, Kimberly, you never get behind. You are amazing.
Oh, thanks. Oh my gosh, Lori, I'm so excited. I worked on Kringles yesterday. You're going to be so proud of me. Because I am going to finish that by April 30th, which gives me 24 days.
Yeah.
Yes, but I worked on it for like 2.5 hours yesterday, and I got a lot done. Because I'm determined to finish that. That's the only thing I've gotten behind on in the last couple of months, but I'm going to catch up. I am worried. I'm not so worried about finishing it. I'm worried about all the back stitching and colonial knots and French knots that I have to do, because that's not my favorite.
And from Sharon Vocal, can you recommend another fabric color for this stitch? I like the dark, but I want to put it on a dark wall, so I think I should use a lighter fabric. Also concerned a white won't show the lighter threads very well.
Yeah, I would do more of a brown or a gray, maybe. But if you do, what you're probably gonna have to change some of the thread color. So just pick a fabric that you think matches your house, like graceful gray or pewter or whatever color you like, and then just pull the colors that are called for, lay them on top of your fabric, and just take the ones out that don't match. And one thing that I do, let me show you this, because this is the part that is always hardest to remember. Okay, let me finish this. Well, let me do this first. In your book, I always list, or wherever, you could do it in a spreadsheet, paper, piece of paper, whatever. I always put what I started with and what I changed to. So that means I changed to this color, and then for some reason I forgot to put my change symbols down here. I must have got tired of doing my change symbols, so I can add those later. But I do always write that down, because if I need to find that in the future, I've got to have it somewhere. And I mean, you know, if I wasn't doing so much, I wouldn't have to keep such crazy records, but you wouldn't believe how many of those books are in Denise's office because I've finished so many things. So one last thread to do for today.
Woohoo! All right, and we have a couple questions here from Crafting a Plan Life. First question: would it be possible to curate a sample needle set? I'd love to try different needles, but can't buy all of them. I know each needle would need to be labeled.
We have thought about that, and it's not possible because the company that we use the most does not sell in bulk. So Pat Carson does not sell in bulk, so we would have to disassemble a bunch of stuff for it to work, but we wanted to do that. That was one of our ideas for our stitchery sampler. But not every company can offer that service, but we wish we could, but we cannot because we've already looked into it.
Can you scooch your stitching over to the left a little?
Sorry,
Thank
yes.
you. Okay, and then Crafting a Plan Live's next question was, if you're using 25 count, why do you change to 12.5?
Okay, 25 count, you stitch over 2. So you take 25 count, you take the number 25 divided by 2. And 25 divided by 2 is 12.5. Because you're stitching over 2 holes. So you take that, you divide that out to get the equivalent of Aida. So for some reason, I just felt like that stitch kind of...
So, well, since you rethreaded, can you actually walk us through threading your needle real quick?
Uh-huh. So that last stitch was kind of messy. I just felt like maybe it wasn't right. And since I don't have my Halo Go, I couldn't tell. So anytime I can't tell for sure, I just pull that out. And I instinctively put my needle through the thread to do that because it will just make it not as twisty. So, for example, watch this. See how it's all twisted together? If you just put your needle through it. And then the way that I thread is I divide, I kind of get to the end and I'm going to pinch this. And then this is how I thread. It's not going to work now because that's how I thread.
So it's like folded.
Yeah, it's folded. See that fold right there? So I pinch it real tight and then that's how I thread it. Now, if you're going to thread at the end, what you would do is clip your threads and put your needle on. The reason I don't do that is I feel like when I do that and put the needle in, it makes this shred. And I don't want that to start shredding all over the place. So that's why I don't do that. But if you do, you would clip just like that, and I'll show you, and you can just thread. But I feel like it's harder. I don't feel like it's as... And see how that end gets all shredded? And then that starts going everywhere. So now I'm going to cut that off.
It's all fluffy.
But some people lick, you know, you can thread however you want.
And Lori Holt says, I want to say that my beeswax is 100% natural and won't hurt your threads, fabric in any way. I've used beeswax for years along with many other stitchers. I hope you all love it as much as I do. Thank you, Lori.
Yes, thank you. And it's always awesome to do anything with Lori because I like to do everything cute, and so now I have cute. And so this side stays cute. Oh, you can see the scallop there.
Yeah.
Finally.
It's nice and lit up.
And then the back is, you can do whatever you want. And then eventually this will start going down.
Yeah, because you use it up.
But you can just buy another one. And it's a very good price. But it definitely made in America by a bee farmer.
That's so cool. I love that. And that it's 100% natural.
Yes. Nothing added to it. So you can buy beeswax with thread conditioner in it. But that's not as safe to use because it's got that conditioner. But
Oh, it's like a blend.
yeah, it's like a, you can do a blend, but Lori doesn't prefer that, so.
Question from Wilma Evans. This sounds silly, but why stitch over 2 when you can use a larger count cloth?
People like to stitch over 2 because of the look it gives. So can you hand me that piece right there? And I'm going to show you, just put it right here. Sure, that one. Yeah, that one's the one I want. I'll show it to you. I'll do both. Just put it like that. Yeah, I'm going to finish this and then I'll show you. Thanks, so I don't mess anything up. I'm going to go ahead and finish this and then I'll answer that. So I prefer Aida because it's easiest to stitch. And I like the way it looks. But I'm going to show you why people stitch over 2 and why they use different fabric.
Question from Kathy Morris. When do you use a hoop? I notice sometimes you do and sometimes you don't.
I used to use a hoop, but I don't anymore. Cheryl uses a hoop 100% of the time, so it's personal preference. When I used a hoop, I used the Q snaps. Cheryl uses the spring tension hoops. So it's all personal preference.
Which one do you use, Denise? Oh, Denise also uses spring tension.
So now that I'm done, I'm going to actually put this needle back up because I've got my other needles threaded. And what I will do to put this up, well, let's show it done, and then I'll show you how I, woohoo!
Oh, look at that.
They're cute, they're little bitty. They're all next to each other.
Yeah.
So what I do to put it in my bag is I roll it up. I usually keep these in my stitch bag, and I will just put everything in my bag, and I literally just, this is our Serendipity bag, so it matches. And I'll just put this on top. It's got these threaded needles, but it'll be fine. Put my fabric on the bottom. And I'll just put these in there since I know I'm going to use it later today, and I'll put my needle in there. And that's all done. So the reason people use over 2 I'm going to try to show you a couple. I'm going to change glasses so I can see. So this is Aida, and you can see how you can see the holes. So some people don't like to see those holes. And then I'll show you another Aida. So this is Aida. You can see the holes. You can't see the holes here. This is 28 count wheat even weave by Zweigart. But you can't see the holes, so you get a totally different look. Now, this was fun to make. I'd probably never do it again. It was too hard. So there's that one. I'll put this one back. This is Aida. It's all about the look. And, you know, as you become a more experienced stitcher, some people just want to get, you know, they want things to be a little bit harder. And so this is Lori Holt's 25 count barley, I think it's barley, but you can't see the holes. So you stitch over two and you get the look of, you don't have to see the holes. So that's why people do that, but you can stitch on whatever you like. This just gives it a different look. It gives it more of a vintage feel. So yeah.
Would you say you can barely see the holes?
I can barely see the holes.
I'm sorry. I was laughing at my own silly joke.
Oh, I thought somebody else said
No.
it. You could just pretend somebody else
There
did.
you go, yes. Oh my goodness.
So barley's the color.
Yes.
Don't let her confuse you.
Yes, sorry, yes.
So guys, thanks for watching. I really enjoyed my time with you. Please join me tomorrow so you can see everything I have worked on all week. And thanks for watching. Please donate to Make-A-Wish, and I will see you tomorrow.